The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is one of the most legendary titles in gaming history. It's the first peek we had at Zelda in 3D, and the world we saw was nothing short of magical. The overworld of Hyrule, complete with Lake Hylia, the Kokiri Forest, Kakariko Village, Gerudo Desert, and Zora's Domain, are amazing. But the real highlights were the dungeons. These vast, maze-like, challenging caverns are still marvelous 25 years later, and today, we're counting down the top 5 dungeons from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Before I get into the top 5, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. It's 2 clicks, it doesn't cost you a penny, and it's vital to the health of my channel here on YouTube. Thank you so much, and now on to the top 5 dungeons from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Number 5. Ganon's Castle. What a culmination to this classic adventure. Ganon's Castle takes a little bit of every dungeon and combines it all into one grand final challenge for the hero of time. With rooms dedicated to the forest, fire, water, shadow, and spirit temples, Link must face temple-specific challenges before he can ascend to the top of the castle for his final showdown with the evil king of the Gerudos. And of course, the battle with Ganondorf isn't just an ordinary dungeon boss battle. After Link prevails in the peak of the tower, it starts collapsing under he and Zelda's feet. They narrowly escape, and out of the rubble climbs the beast Ganon, setting up the game's final encounter. Ganon's Castle is a terrific climax to this legendary adventure. Number 4. Inside the Deku Tree. While the final dungeon in Ocarina of Time is terrific, the first one is even better. The inaugural bit of the underworld takes young Link into the depths of the Great Deku Tree in search of the culprit that has stricken the tree ill. In some ways, this lead-off dungeon serves as a tutorial for the player, but that doesn't override the sheer awe that overtakes you the first time you step inside the Great Tree. The Great Deku Tree is filled with snapping plants, spider webs, Deku scrubs, and the dungeon's boss, the Queen Spider, Goma. It's an incredible first notch on the belt for the young hero of time, and it rockets him off on his journey to save Hyrule. Number 3. The Shadow Temple. The darkest, most brooding dungeon in Ocarina of Time is preceded by disaster in Kakariko Village. After the completion of the Water Temple, Link finds himself back in a burning Kakariko, where a mysterious shadow bursts out of the village well. After young Link works his way through the bottom of the well, perhaps the game's coolest mini-dungeon area, by the way, he finds the elusive Lens of Truth. Now, the creepiest dungeon in the game has fittingly the creepiest location, the back of the graveyard. Inside the Shadow Temple, Link will dodge spikes and guillotines, acquire the very cool hover boots, walk through fake walls, and even take a nice peaceful boat ride. Well, it's peaceful except for the 2 Stalfos that try to kill you, but aside from those. The proprietor of the Shadow Temple is the legendary Bongo-Bongo, who upon first blush appears to be just the giant hands of an out-of-work percussionist. But upon further inspection with the Lens of Truth, this dark beast is huge, and he plans to smack you to death. After some carefully timed arrows and sword slashes, the great boss of the Shadow Temple is no more, and Link earns his penultimate medallion. Number 2. The Spirit Temple. I remember when I first saw the Spirit Temple during my playthrough back in the late 90s. Reaching this place in the desert felt like I'd really gotten somewhere in the game, like it was some sort of forbidden place that only a few ever reached. The final dungeon before the showdown with Ganondorf, there's almost a mystical quality to it. And beating the temple itself is only half of the Spirit Temple's challenge. You also have to figure out how to get there. You know something important is brewing because you're entering the homeland of Ganondorf himself, the Gerudo Valley. Here you have to overcome a broken bridge, the Gerudo Fortress, you have to traverse across the haunted wasteland with the Lens of Truth and the creepiest tour guide that you'll ever see, and then somehow arrive upon the Desert Colossus in the middle of seemingly nothing. The journey to the Spirit Temple is almost as captivating as the structure itself. Traversing the Spirit Temple is objectively difficult, and it's the only dungeon in the game that requires you to visit as young Link and adult Link. Knowing that this desert monolith has been standing here for all these years in between, it just adds so much more depth to the experience. Finding the Mirror Shield and defeating Twinrova are the landmarks on Link's Spirit Temple journey. It's a terrific, terrific dungeon. and it's second only to Number 1. The Forest Temple. The Forest Temple is the number 1 dungeon on this list for so many reasons. The music, the boss, the mini-bosses, the layout, the atmosphere. It's the first time we get a glimpse of the dungeon world after Link's 7-year hiatus. He has to travel back through the Lost Woods and traverse a moblin-filled maze to the Sacred Forest Meadow in search of his friend Saria from all those years ago. But instead of finding her there, he runs into the mysterious Sheik and learns the Minuet of Forest. The temple itself appears as somewhat of an old abandoned mansion. It sat there for so long that nature has started to reclaim it, with overgrown vines and plant life at every twist and turn. Inside, Link encounters Stalfos, Big Deku Babas, Skulltulas, and more. Link must twist and untwist hallways with the help of his newly acquired bow and arrow and avoid the demonic wall masters that fall from the ceiling. The mini-bosses are the 4 Poe sisters, 3 of whom dwell in paintings in different corridors of the Forest Temple. After defeating all 4, an elevator in the center of the temple's main room reveals a basement underneath. Link eventually finds himself in a museum-like rotunda surrounded by many copies of the same painting. His showdown here with Phantom Ganon is unbelievably cool, as covered in one of my previous videos. Link shoots arrows at paintings, and he and Phantom Ganon play tennis with a ball of electricity. Link eventually overcomes the Phantom and completes his first dungeon as an adult. The coolest dungeon in all of Ocarina of Time. Hey, did you enjoy this video? Did you agree or disagree with my choices? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can keep getting this content out to you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.